Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patrons, Ludwig and ENO. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. If you missed it over the weekend and you're in the market for a new Tesla Model S or X, check their new inventory. You'll see some heavily discounted vehicles. In this case, you can get a Model S Plaid for $105,000 with 3 years of free supercharging. Switching over to the Model X, here's a dual motor all-wheel drive marked off about $12,000, so have a look. We just got the most recent Tesla China weekly insured data number, 14,500. Plugging that into the table, if you wanted to compare it to week 11 in quarter one, that number was 18,712. But up through week 11 in quarter one, at that point, Tesla was at 108.6 thousand. And through week 11 in quarter two, now Tesla sits at 125.2 thousand. Given that the current record for domestic deliveries in China for a quarter is 137.4 thousand, that means we only need another 12,000 throughout the remaining 2 or so weeks in the month. We have a Reddit user sharing some new images of Tesla's new Hardware 4 over on the right compared to the older Hardware 3. This, of course, is one of the side repeater cameras. There could be some angle distortion here, but it looks like Hardware 4, of course, is a bit smaller with more of a low profile. But I wanted to highlight the specs. This one is Hardware 3, and you'll see 12 volts and 2.2 watts. Here's the new Hardware 4, and it says 16 volts and 0.9 watts. And as far as I can tell, this user actually owns an independent repair shop, so he's able to order parts directly from the electronic parts catalog. Just wanted to highlight we get new, better quality cameras, a smaller profile, and less than half of the power draw of the prior version. Pretty nice upgrade. And speaking of 16 volts, if you want to learn more about Tesla's new lithium ion battery that's replaced the lead acid 12 volt batteries, this video is probably the best on the topic. It'll be linked below. You probably saw the photo of the Cybertruck offloading a plane in New Zealand, presumably for winter testing. No, this is not the first round of winter testing. It's just the latest version of that. But what I wanted to say is that I'm sure some people are getting their hopes up because New Zealand, as far as I can tell, is a right-hand drive region. But I do want to tell you that Tesla has tested left-hand drive vehicles in New Zealand before. However, I do think there is some hope, at least for the future, when it comes to steer-by-wire and Tesla bringing the Cybertruck and maybe S and X eventually back to right-hand drive markets. And we know that Elon has said in the past the goal is really to get to steer-by-wire for progressive steering ratios. And if you check Elon's likes, one of those is a tweet from Ava Fox talking about Tesla's patent for steer-by-wire. We've talked about this before. The simple explanation, there would be no mechanical link between the steering wheel and the actual driving dynamics, which means Tesla could move the steering wheel, whether it's right-hand drive, left-hand drive, much easier without having to totally change the engineering of the front part of the vehicle. This would, of course, allow progressive steering ratios, making steering with a yoke much easier, not having to do this whole hand-over-hand thing, really just setting the limits where you can do a full turn, only turning the wheel about 180 degrees. And it's true, we've heard about this before. Some people thought we'd see it in the S and X. I still have some hope we do see it in the Cybertruck first. Maybe Elon's liking that tweet is some indication. Maybe not. Time will tell. There were some pictures over the weekend talking about Model X vehicles having the new Matrix style headlights. There's still a lot of confusion. Are these really legal in the United States? If so, why isn't Tesla shipping them with the features turned on? We know they can turn on the Matrix features with a software update, but what's the holdup been? Long story short, the United States is just now changing some of the lighting regulations, but they're still very different than the European Union where Matrix is allowed. So I don't have all of the answers, but wanted to pass this along for now. As we talked about, FSD Beta 11.4.4 is now rolling out to customers with some new release notes. So I won't read them to you, but go ahead and pause the screen here if you'd like to on your own. The Tesla fight against dealerships in Louisiana is our latest setback. Unfortunately, Tesla just won a similar case in Delaware, but no such luck to be had for direct Tesla sales in Louisiana, not yet. The real translation here, the Louisiana Auto Dealers Association is heavily entrenched and possibly with deep pockets. Did you guys see this one? Intel planning to invest $33 billion in Germany, which, yes, makes it the biggest foreign investment in Germany ever. And because I'm sure some of you are wondering, Dylan, how are you aggregating all these news sources talking about this topic and also figuring out which ones are left-leaning politically, which ones are right, and which ones are center? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a new sponsor for you guys, Ground News, and I really think a lot of you will like this one and, more importantly, find it incredibly valuable. But if you scroll down, you can see Ground News will actually show us which articles have covered the story and what their political leaning is. In this case, no sources on the left were reporting on this story. And check this out, for every news story, Ground News breaks it down for you who actually owns these media outlets, which just gives you a better insight into where this reporting is coming from. One of the biggest news stories over the last few days, Rogan, RFK, Elon jumping into the conversation and the debate. But if you scroll down, you can see, and it's usually pretty interesting looking at all of the different headlines for the left-leaning sources versus the right-leaning sources. And what I found to be pretty useful, there's this filters option so you can actually choose international to see how these same news stories are being reported around the world. And for all of you that love a good Steelman, the blind spot feature is going to be your new favorite thing. You can scroll down for all news items and see stories that have little coverage from the left and the same on the right. So if you want to go read the opposite side and hear what some of the arguments are, this is definitely the easiest, fastest way to do that. Ground News was developed by a former NASA engineer, so they've covered the bases. There's a mobile app with all of the same features, as well as a browser extension that will give you the Ground News data right at the top of your browser. Ground News also integrates seamlessly with Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. So if you'd like to stay informed with more clarity in an increasingly chaotic media landscape, you can go to ground.news/electrified, linked below, to sign up for free. Or if you want to support the mission and find it useful like I do, you can also get 30% off for unlimited access. Thank you in advance. Enjoy. As expected, today Rivian announced they just signed an agreement with Tesla to adopt the North American charging standard. Access will start as soon as spring 2024. Rivian said adapters will be available whether your vehicle is built with a CCS charge port or NACS, so you can access the Rivian Adventure Network, Tesla Superchargers, and other third-party CCS networks. And yes, Rivian does still plan to continue building out its own adventure network. Most likely they will include the NACS connector at some point, and Rivian said NACS will be standard on the R1 line, which may be a bit of a surprise as soon as 2025, and of course on the R2 smaller line as well. So obviously a big win for the EV movement, and to everybody that's looking at Lucid saying what in the world are they waiting for, I'm guessing it has something to do with the voltage situation. So Tesla V3 superchargers really only go up in practice to about 500, whereas Lucid vehicles operate closer to 1000, meaning Lucid charging at a Tesla supercharger right now may only do 50 kilowatts, so they can do the same thing on the CCS network. But I would guess that Tesla does plan to modify all of the thousands of the V3 superchargers, maybe with a new cable and some slight modifications, to eventually allow up to 1000 volt charging. So if that step were to happen, I think Lucid would be much more likely to adopt the NACS, but either way, I think they will eventually. On that point from Reuters, now we have Hyundai saying they'll consider making its vehicles more readily compatible with Tesla's NACS. And the holdup is most likely the same situation Lucid is in. They operate with that 800 volt architecture. Tesla's V3 network, that's all we have. We don't have any V4 yet, operates at a lower voltage. So Hyundai said they'll talk to Tesla to see if they have any plans to update that in the future, which I think they will. And a trend to keep an eye on for Hyundai, they plan to focus less on China where it's been struggling with competitiveness. They've now sold some plants there and have plans to do more. And they're looking to boost local production of EVs in the United States, Europe, and South Korea, aiming for EV production to make up 3/4 of total vehicle production for them in the United States by 2030.
Good morning. This is a big ticket meeting, Prime Minister Modi meeting 2030 in New York, and it includes Elon Musk, the Twitter chairman, and also the CEO of Tesla. Last month we saw that he met with some government officials as well, because he's very much interested, for as far as business is concerned. Electric vehicle maker considers investing in the manufacturing, in India, very important. And this is one event that, the whole world will be watching.
So this meeting between the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and Elon will apparently be with these other 20 high-profile individuals sometime later this evening in New York. And Reuters is saying that Elon will directly brief Modi on plans to set up a manufacturing base in India. This meetup being described as a high-level meeting about India's economic potential, and that Tesla has very strong plans for India, including looking at manufacturing. India and Tesla have gone back and forth now for years. Originally, the holdup was most likely the import taxes and tariffs, too prohibitive for Tesla. They wanted to test the waters. Then they really stopped talking for about a year, and apparently now they're back at the table. I do want to make it clear though, this conversation will be about more than just Tesla. They'll undoubtedly be talking about Starlink and Twitter as well. Autotrader is coming out with its vehicle awards for 2023, and it named the Model Y the best car for families. And they shared this quote: "It's about the balance of speed, economy, and quality with big handfuls of fun and practicality thrown in. Enough said. Well done, Tesla." While many of us in the community have known this to be true, it really is this type of thing that will be great for the general public to eventually see. We get a press release from Neoen. They've struck a new deal with Tesla, this time for a battery energy storage project in Australia that's been approved for up to 4 gigawatt hours, which is massive. And they said the first phase, which is just short of 1 gigawatt hour, will include 224 Tesla Megapack 2XL units, said to be operational Q4 of next year. And this is Neoen's first 4-hour-long duration battery globally. As I said on Twitter, doing some simple math, that's about $450 million in revenue at 25% profit. That's $112 million in profit that, yes, will be paid in time when milestones are hit. And just for context, the equivalent would be Tesla selling 8,960 cars at $50,000 a pop. Over the weekend, Elon did an interview with a French journalist. I'll have the whole thing linked below. The only one real takeaway I wanted to share about Tesla is that Elon said there's a very good chance Tesla does something significant in France in the years to come. And he went on to say how much he really likes President Macron and what he's trying to do for the country. So that could just be corporate speak, relationship building, but worth noting. And looking at the NACS adoption tracker, not only do we have Rivian today, but BTC Power joining the party as well. Don't forget, check out Ground News linked below. I really think you will enjoy it. Please like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.